Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. My name is James.
I'm Ralph.
And today we are covering Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The final movie in the prequel trilogy and our last regular episode before Obi-Wan Kenobi starts next week, next Friday.
Next week.
That's crazy.
I'm like, oh, we got a data link and then Obi-Wan. But no, all that shit's happening the same week.
Yeah. So we got 3 episodes coming out next week. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Yeah, me too.
I'm tired. I'm already tired.
Well, you got a convention to go to as well.
I know.
We're not doing it alone. We are joined today by Marc from the Holdo Maneuver Podcast.
Boop. There he is.
Welcome, Marc. Thank you for joining us.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey, hello there. Yeah. I took a few notes. I literally finished watching the movie for my rewatch about, what time is it now? About 18 minutes ago.
I didn't finish watching it.
I fast forwarded
again.
The fight. I fast forwarded through the fights at the end because I was like, I was watching. I was like, how long's left? Okay, right. I'm not gonna have time to do this.
I've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah,
and I was gonna finish it last night, and Stevie's like, "Are you gonna finish it?" I'm like, I mean, we got up like I'll put it on a couple nights ago, and I literally stopped it like right after Darth Vader kills the children.
Okay, yeah,
but it was not because of like content, because it was bedtime, and then it just never happened.
Because that's all you needed to see. That's all you were there for.
Really got to get to that point. But no, I've seen it countless times, and I know how it goes, and all the important information is up top, and I really didn't take any notes.
I took a handful, but not as many as normal, because as I said, I've seen this. I know this film inside out.
Yeah.
How about you, Marc?
Oh yeah, I have seen it many times. Actually, when it came out, I was working as a projectionist at a movie theater at that time.
Nice.
I actually saw it maybe like 3 times before the actual release of it, because we got it. I built it, and I was the only one there that night. So I put all the film reels of it together, and I started, and I watched it by myself, like 2 days before it actually came out.
That's very cool. Yeah. I had a few friends who worked in cinemas later on. I don't think anyone was in 2005. All of my early access to it was from being at Celebration 3 and seeing the clips and the extended stuff that they got to see. But yeah, not much, but I was excited for it, definitely.
On our last regular episode, we talked about looking at the tiny QuickTime file for the episode 1 trailer. For episode 2 and episode 3, I was working in downtown Disney in custodial, and they have an AMC there, or had an AMC there. And I would go up. Me and a group of guys and a manager from downtown Disney would walk up to the front to the ticket taker and say, "We heard there's a situation that we need to go check on." And they're like, yeah, sure, just go right in. And we would go in, and we would know what film that the trailers for episode 2 and 3 were playing in front of, like every trailer, like teaser, and then the regular trailer, then like the final trailer. So we would do this like over the course of many days, and just go into the theater, sneak in, and watch the trailer on the big screen.
Awesome. What a way, what a difference. I remember streaming the trailer on, I think I probably had a download of it, but the difference between 99 and 2005 was striking. That 6 years, technology advanced so much, I think.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Ryan Coughlin wrote this, and I'm like, I swear, I'm like, this is from, I was going to say Clerks 2. I thought it was from Clerks 2, but no, it's from Zach and Mary.
I was going to say, it's not Clerks 2.
Zach and Mary.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's just say who's here. Sarah's here.
Morning. Happy birthday for yesterday, was it?
Yeah, Sarah's birthday was yesterday, and tomorrow's birthday, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's convenient, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we're getting a lot of Star Wars birthdays.
Oh
yeah, it's May. It is the season and all that. So what did you guys think of this movie first time around? When you first saw it, what were your impressions? You enjoyed it, Ralph?
Yeah,
my first we heard that your first viewing of Phantom Menace was not good,
and that's the 17 years or whatever of no Star Wars, and that's what we got. And,
of course.
But it's so by the time I got to this one, I was used to sort of what George Lucas was doing, and I thought it was well done. A little bit later, I want to talk about my 8th viewing.
Okay, that's specific.
I think it was my 8th. No, it might have been my 3rd viewing. I saw this movie 8 times in the theater, like all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And then I definitely want to talk about my 3rd viewing, because I'm pretty sure I teased it on a previous episode. My 3rd viewing of Revenge of the Sith.
I can't remember if you did, but I'm excited.
I guarantee you it's, well, someone who's listening, going back and listening to all our episodes from the past year, then yeah, you'll see. I definitely had to have dropped hints about this, maybe even during our Attack of the Clones episode.
That's cool.
Which was like episode 5.
We've got someone here who saw this movie with Mark 5 times in 2 days. Mark, that is impressive. Was that from being there working, or?
Yeah, this is my friend Mike. He's actually gonna be my new host on Holdo Maneuver.
Awesome.
And it's actually his birthday tomorrow too. But yeah, he and I worked at that movie theater at the same time. Yeah, and we built it. We watched it, and then I think we went to like the midnight screening, I think we did like an all like employee screening like the next night, and then so by the time the midnight screening of the movie came, I had already seen it like 3 times.
That's cool.
But
it is nice being able to do that, and especially like when you know people like you who were working in cinemas at the time. Like it's great because you can usually get in a little bit early.
So my story is, like Fets, this was the first movie I camped out for. This is the first time me and my friends decided we're going to stay in line 24 hours, because we had done about 10 hours. Our Attack of the Clones was similar to my story with Phantom Menace. But the problem was they weren't showing it at the Chinese theater.
Okay.
So we had to do it in Westwood.
What was there instead?
I have no idea. It was weird. Really bizarre, but they didn't have it there. So we went to Westwood, and which I believe is where they did the actual premiere of the movie. I could be wrong. But it was, we ended up staying 24 hours. My friend Jeff and Robert were there with me the whole time. And they took some time to go sleep in the car. I think I was just up, and I was like, "This is fucking stupid," because I'm going to be wrecked by the time I watch this movie. I was so amped. Like I remember driving home, and being very sleepy. I think Stevie had to constantly like shake me to make sure we made it home alive.
I struggle with midnight screenings these days for the same reason, because I'm in a comfy seat. Like the movie theater that I go to's got like the nice recliners and everything. So like I'll get myself comfy, and then like by halfway through the movie, no matter how good it is, I'm always just like, oh, but I'm sat down and I could be asleep. That would be lovely.
Yeah. I did 24. So we did 24 hours. So we got there again. It was a situation when there was one long line, and the line sort of just filters out as showings happen throughout the day. So we showed up at 9 at night, the night before. And when the line filtered down to our showing, there was a guy right behind us that showed up at like 9:35. He showed up at like 5 minutes after us.
Okay.
And he had 100 people in his group.
Holy shit.
And I was like, okay, we have like 30. But I was like, if we got there 5 minutes later, we would have been the 100th in line. So it worked out, I guess. It was a big theater, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah, but still, like, there would have been a risk of at least sitting like somewhere a bit shit.
Yeah, but I think with Revenge of the Sith, like with episode 1, like the hype was there because it hadn't been the first Star Wars for a long time. And with the Phantom Menace, like that was just like waiting. With Revenge of the Sith, I feel like, okay, we kind of understand what George is doing. Let's see. This is it. This is the story he wanted to tell, was this Anakin versus Obi-Wan thing.
And by all accounts, we know how it's going to end, sort of thing. So.
And we know that maybe these aren't going to be as good as the original trilogy. And now I'm sort of used to it because I've got Attack of the Clones on tape and I watched it over and over again. And same with Phantom Menace. So I'm in it. I'm ready to go. This is the final hurrah for Star Wars. Let's go big.
Yeah.
So
I've never camped out for a movie. As long as I've been alive, there's always been assigned seating for films in the UK. So I've never had to do that. So I've always had my tickets in advance. I've always known exactly where I'm sitting, in what screen, like all of that. So I've never had that experience. The closest I've ever come to it was Celebration 3, was camping out for the George Lucas panel, because it was the first time he'd done a convention like this, any of the celebrations, and at the time, like, assumedly the last time he was ever going to do it. I mean, and even throughout, like, after that, it's not like he made regular appearances at those things. But for this one, he did, and he was going to be there. So I camped out for that. And the other time was the Lost panel at Comic-Con, which is where you and I were hanging out.
That's ridiculous, because the first time I went to the Lost panel was between season 1 and 2, and it was in Ballroom 20.
Yeah,
it started at 9:00 or 10:00, and we showed up at like 9:50 and got second row seats. We just walked right in. You just would just go into the ballroom and sit down. It was this sort of fanboy FOMO thing is like it's escalated really quickly. I'm so happy for assigned seatings. We got over here in the States assigned seatings maybe like the standard, maybe like 5-10 years ago.
I was gonna say, it wasn't that long ago, was it? Like,
right,
there were certain places that would do it, but not all of them. Like, weren't Alamo Alamo were one of the big people who were like pushing for it early. Yeah,
I want to say Force Awakens I had to wait in line, and maybe Rogue One.
That's wild.
I waited in line.
That's wild.
But assigned seating, God, it makes me so much happier because I don't have to worry about it. I just don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Standing in line for 24 hours and finding out that you could have been, if I was there, if I showed up 23 and a half hours before, I would have been 100th in line. Like, it's like that was what made me get real antsy about lines.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't know. It's funny because, like, the UK, we love a queue. Like, we'll line up for anything. I've been in a line for something before and had someone come up to me who's joined the line maybe like 20 minutes, half an hour, and stood behind me and then asked me what they're in line for. That has happened to me on multiple occasions, and I'm just like, do you just see a line and join it? And the same thing whenever, like, even like at the movie theater, when you go to the concession stand and there'll be one queue and then there's like 3 other people serving, but there's a line, so everyone will join that one line. And it's like, there's these people. And I'm always that guy who'll just walk right past them and go straight to the front. And I'm just like, just use your head, people. Don't just follow. It's weird.
Yeah. Michael asks us to define camped out, like overnight. For me, camp out is if you have chairs or a blanket or something where you're creating a space where you settle in. Like, I feel like that's camping out.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be overnight, but it could be like, it's got to be multiple hours, surely.
Yeah. If you have to have a meal, at least one meal while waiting.
So I'm probably going to do that for some Franklin barbecue when I'm in Austin next month. I will not necessarily camp out overnight, but like a good few, like, I don't know, maybe 5-6 hours in advance, because it's really good. And I can't wait to have it again. All right, that's
is that where you go? Is that where you're going after Obi-Wan is done?
Yeah. I'm going to Austin. Which is the only benefit of them doing those 2 in the first week, is that I don't have to miss the last episode. I can be here for all of them.
Right.
Which is
that's the big upside to that is whole shuffling of Obi-Wan.
The real upside for me, anyway. But I don't have to have the stress of going to a convention immediately after watching them.
I feel like if I could wait 24 hours in line for Revenge of the Sith, I can.
You can do it. I believe in you, Ralph.
I could do a podcast before going to Celebration.
I do it before going to a night shift and working for 12 hours most weeks.
Yeah.
So I believe in you. All right. So, any thoughts of like Ralph? You didn't take any notes. Anything in particular that was jumping out to you about the movie itself? Not the movie going experience, but
the only notes I took. First of all, I said Yoda says, "Let them die." I don't know.
Does he?
I don't know.
I don't think. I don't
know what I put.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird note. But mostly my note has to do with our last episode, regular episode with Patrick on episode 1, where Mace Windu's the one that tells Qui-Gon that Anakin won't be trained while Anakin's standing there.
Right in front of him.
And so this movie, watching it, knowing that, like, Mace Windu is the antagonist as far as Anakin's story goes, and he's saying no to him constantly.
And in all 3 movies, when you know it's there, you see it and you can't unsee it. They do not like each other at all. Mace Windu is never nice to Anakin.
No.
And he's like, "You will have earned my respect." He's like, dude, he's been a Jedi. He's been like one of the like your heroes of this entire war and of the last like 13 years. And he'll have only just earned your respect. It's like, no wonder he's going to cut your arm off. Right. And the same thing, like I'll be talking about it a bit more in my review, but the relationship between Anakin and Mace Windu comes up a few times in Brotherhood, the new book by Mike Chen, and it's there as well, like the butting of heads, whether it just be like a glance or a glare or them actually disagreeing.
So people have been talking about a return of Mace Windu. Like Samuel Jackson said, he sent a text to Bryce Dallas Howard and stuff. I don't need to see him come back, but I do find it interesting. I would like to see a prequel. Maybe cast somebody new and younger. We don't have to go the CG route.
I mean, if anyone's been de-aged a lot, possibly, like Sam Jackson's been de-aged.
So. Yeah. But the thing is, like, I want to know more about Mace Windu's relationship with Qui-Gon.
That'd be interesting.
Because I feel like all of this stems from that.
Again, it comes up in that book. I don't want to say too much here about it because I am going to do a bonus episode this week. But Qui-Gon was offered a seat on the council, but he wouldn't be able to be Obi-Wan's master anymore. He would basically need to give Obi-Wan over to someone else to have a seat on the council, and he refused that. And that's been a sticking point that Obi-Wan's just like, I don't know if he made the right choice. I don't know, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, that would be interesting. And I'd like to see the two of them as younger men, because they're contemporaries. They're about the same sort of age, I would expect. Maybe Mace is a little bit younger, but not by much.
I have no idea.
Not by much. My first thing that I mentioned, and I think every time I watch this movie, is we're what, 13 years gone now? No, 17 years old, this movie.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, 17 years old.
Yeah.
The CG, especially in that opening dogfight, is top notch. It looks as good as anything today.
For me, I don't mind any of the CG. Rewatching the prequels, there's sort of a stylized quality to it, and I feel like what it's great is like these model backgrounds and CG backgrounds and stuff. That's how they did it in Flash Gordon with paintings and models. Yeah. And so it feels like it's a choice. It feels like it's a designed choice.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I definitely think that the Clone Wars series was at least in mind. If not, I don't know when development actually started on that. I know that it was announced at Celebration 4 a couple of years later in 2007. But I think it was already at least being worked on behind the scenes, because a lot of the animation and the style, whether it be the clones or the droids, it all feels a lot closer to the Clone Wars than it does to episodes 1 and 2, I think. Like the pitching up of the battle droid voice, the bit more humor with them, for good or for worse. Like, I think it leans more towards the Clone Wars than it does to episode 1. Like, the droid voice is completely different. The battle droid voice is completely different.
Matthew Wood, probably.
Yeah, probably. It's the handoff from Ben Burt to Matthew Wood, maybe. That's why like the humor, the R2D2 humor in that opening sort of section. You enjoy it, Ralph?
Me and Stevie laughed. Something's happened in my brain where I've just decided to let this shit go and let Star Wars be fun. Yeah. And again, I keep going back to Favreau and Filoni. They're setting out to make Star Wars cool. George is just trying to make Star Wars fun. And I prefer fun. And I think that's why I like Solo as much as I do.
Because it is just pure fun.
It's just fun. There's nothing in it trying to be cool. Even though there's a close-up shot.
I think Lando's trying to be cool.
but Lando is cool. So that's the thing. Yeah. Lando is cool. There's nothing you can do about that. Everybody knows it. But when Beckett throws Han the blaster, there's a close-up shot of him holding it. You see it real quick, but it's not a lingering moment like Yoda's lightsaber in a box. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's like when for some reason when R2 was on the comm link, for some reason R2 has a comm link to begin with, which is for me comical. He's holding
Obi-Wan gives him one. He specifically like hands him one. It's like, surely he's a droid. Like you could just
maybe it's a secret frequency. Maybe
possibly.
But
it is a weird visual to see him.
It's loud, and watching R2 back up into the other dome-shaped objects as a hiding place. For some reason, me and Stevie laughed, and we thought it was great. And
I was gonna say, I love the kind of like brotherly bickering with Obi-Wan and Anakin there too, like about R2. Yeah. And like Anakin's like sticking up for R2, and Obi-Wan's like, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, he's like on the defensive bit in that fun like way that everyone has had. That it's like, whoa, I'm like, oh, no problem. Yeah,
and the way it's the way it's written and the way it's acted is perfect because it shows that this is an argument they've had before.
Yes,
and it for me it works. Like this Anakin and Obi-Wan in this sort of James Bond opening of saving the Chancellor, like their banter is so good.
Yeah,
it's so fun, and I feel like I wish we had more of it. We had a little bit in Attack of the Clones, but I'm not reading the book. Is there an audio book of it? Okay, not to spoil your review, but everybody needs to check out the review coming up. Yeah, Brotherhood. But I mean, is the book good?
It's really good.
Okay,
I really enjoyed it.
There's an audio version, right?
Yep, there's an audio book. I'm pretty sure Mark Thompson. If it's not Mark Thompson, it'll be the other guy who does a lot of the audiobooks, and they're great. I'm listening to a Star Wars audiobook as well as reading this. While I was reading this, but a completely different one. Yeah. Okay. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
There's that deleted scene where like Anakin is, which I'm glad they deleted, but like where Anakin is speaking like
droid. Yeah, I'm glad that they deleted it as well. I don't need that. Like I think they were trying to make a choice there. It's like when they're talking with the droids, do they want to have them talking astromech, or is it just a case of like when they're talking Chewie, they understand it, they don't need to speak it. There's a
when they're talking Chewie.
When they're talking to Chewie, whatever.
Oh, I thought you meant like they're talking Chewie, like that's the language.
I mean, yeah, he's a Chewie.
Yeah. It's like when people call vampires Draculas.
Yeah, I'm a sexy Dracula.
Your sister asked if how I feel about the books. I feel okay about books. I haven't read most of them, but I listened to the audiobook for Ahsoka, mostly because I liked that Ashley Eckstein was doing the
narration of it.
The narration for that.
Yeah. It's good. It's one that I've been tempted to go back to because I listened to the audiobook of that one as well. And at the time I hadn't watched the Clone Wars in a long time, and I didn't know specifically like what that final arc was meant to be. Where like I think a lot of people had an idea about it. We hadn't seen it yet. So that book came out, and I was just sort of confused. I was like, right, so where does she leave off at the end of Clone Wars? I couldn't really remember. But I think now I'd like to go back and reread that one because I think it'd be really interesting knowing what was going on with the end of the Clone Wars and her stuff on Mandalore and things like that. I think it'd be good.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get a job where I can, have my Bluetooth in, because when I was working at Disney on third shift, I made it through like 5 James Bond audiobooks, which for me is like a big deal. I like Star Wars, but I don't, the EU, I don't know. I just find Star Wars so visual.
Yeah.
And
it's different. It's different, but I think once you get used to it, they can be just as, if not better. Like around the time that this movie came out, 2004, 2005, I think I'd read all of the old Clone Wars novels that were coming out around that time, which have since become, like, even before the buyout, they'd been sort of gone, not all of this fits canonically because the Clone Wars series sort of overwrite a lot of it. But there was a couple in particular. Labyrinth of Evil was like an immediate prelude to Revenge of the Sith. And then the Revenge of the Sith novelization were incredible. And they really sort of helped inform the film for me at the time. Like, I was so ingrained in it that you'd get like offhand mentions of like Master Voss has moved his troops to Bos Pitti. And I'd be like, I read that in last month's issue of the comic book. Because Quinlan Voss was like the lead of that series.
So I thought it was strange that with everything surrounding the books, that they went back to do an Anakin Obi-Wan story. Is it because of the series? Is this something where I should get the audiobook and listen to it by next week?
No, you don't need to by next week. It definitely has me more excited about the confrontation between Anakin and Vader, but in a tragic way. In a just, it really helps elevate the relationship between the two of them.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see them come together, because we only know, as far as Obi-Wan knows, Anakin died in a fiery pit.
This has been your pitch for a while. It was that, like, you wanted the show to open with Anakin and Obi-Wan Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, but him not knowing who it was. Rewatching it this morning before we started the podcast, I was like, oh no, he does know that he's going by Darth Vader. Like, when they're watching the recordings.
That was one of the questions we asked.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
He does discover that, like, they see the Emperor saying, "You've done well, Lord Vader," and
that's right.
Yoda says, like, Anakin is gone. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, Anakin's gone. He's been consumed by Darth Vader.
So it all depends on if the name Darth Vader is
public,
known throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that after Return of the Jedi, like, people have forgotten about, or after Revenge of the Sith, people have forgotten about the Jedi.
Yeah, in a 20-year period.
But after Return of the Jedi, people remember Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm. I think that's just marketing, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I'm curious to know.
The Empire just sort of did what they could to distract and dissuade from the Jedi, whereas the New Republic would have been holding Luke up as a poster boy.
Because when you watch Star Wars, Rogue One and Star Wars, Vader's kind of hiding away in a castle on Mustafar. Like, it's more desolate than Tatooine. In Star Wars, he's essentially just Tarkin's the dude, and he's Tarkin's thug.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe Darth Vader is a name that's known throughout the Jedi community, but not so much in the public.
Possibly. I'm curious to see how they play Vader, because I think different people have had different takes on it over the years, and in the new canon of everything, we don't really know.
I'll be happy with either way. However it shakes out, I'm sure I'll be happy with it.
I can't remember. Is he particularly well known in Rebels? I don't think he is he?
I don't think so. And that's the thing, is that's when Ahsoka finds out.
Yeah, she feels it.
Anakin became Darth Vader during that fight. So we'll see.
But she wouldn't have known the name Vader beforehand.
Right.
So there's the difference there. But yeah, it's like Labyrinth of Evil, and then the novelization of Revenge of the Sith is one of the best, not just like expanded universe, but it's just one of the best Star Wars books, period. Matt Stover wrote it. He did the first of the Clone Wars books from that time was a Mace Windu book called Shatterpoint, which was basically Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now, but with Mace Windu. But Matt Stover, he's all sort of first person. He gets right into the characters' heads. And the novelization really goes into detail as to why it matters to Anakin to be a Jedi Master, not just on the council. Like, that is a big sticking point, and I feel like it's completely cut from the movie.
Okay. One of the things I noticed in the movie this time around, and I figured out what my first note meant. So there's a nice chunk in sort of the middle where everything gets set up for Anakin. All the points of view from all of his influences. You get a scene with him and Padme saying, "I won't let you die in childbirth." You get the Yoda scene where Yoda doesn't say let them die, but he says it should be celebrated for someone to become one with the Force. And we should be happy for that.
Let go of attachments.
Let go of attachments. And so my note was let them die. Because he said he talked about his mom and in both situations, and it's essentially like celebrate people that become one with the Force. It's the will of the Force. Don't try to get in its way. Like Yoda's a little bit more try to put a positive spin on his situation. We get him with Mace Windu saying, no, you can't be part of this thing. You get him with Palpatine, and Palpatine in the office talking about, actually consoling him and help his, like, he's being more sympathetic to Anakin.
Yeah.
And then you have him and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's going out to Utapau. And so it's this setup where it's like, here's every bit of Anakin's influence. This is everybody's in Anakin's life that he has been listening to, who's been sort of like communicating with. And then we get this scene right after we get each of those little vignettes. We get a scene of Anakin just like staring out a window.
Yeah.
Like he's taking all of this in.
Yeah.
He's getting all of this information. And at the end of the day, it comes down to Padme's number one. She needs to not die.
Yep.
Mace Windu keeps telling me no, and the Jedi keep telling me don't have attachments. And then here's this other guy that's like, hey, the Jedi are bad. You probably know this already. The Jedi are bad, but I can help you with your problem. And so when the scene comes where it's literally Palpatine versus Mace Windu, the decision for him on his mind, the only thing on his mind is Padme.
Yep.
And he's just looking at these two forces like the clock is ticking on these two guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck it. I love Padme. This guy sucks.
This guy's been a dick to me since I was 10 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it was Obi-Wan, he absolutely sides with Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan's able to be that rational voice for him. Yeah. I think if it's Yoda in that situation, there's a bit of conflict, but I think he would probably still go with Yoda.
But the thing that sucks also that I realized this time is Anakin gets the news about General Grievous that he's on Utapau and wants to go to Utapau. And Mace Windu says, no, we're going to send Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And that starts putting in that inkling of Obi-Wan and the Jedi are in cahoots. And I don't like the Jedi anymore. And it just
really is like the Jedi didn't turn against the Senate. They didn't turn against Anakin. They kind of used Obi-Wan as a tool. Like they used Obi-Wan to be the one to deliver the news that he's going to be their spy. They send him off to Utapau, sort of almost like it works for both sides. It works for Palpatine and it works sort of for the Jedi-ish because it gets him out of the way. So there goes his moral compass. And then later on, like it's him who it's just there. And it's like, if only Obi-Wan had been around. Like, yeah, okay, you wouldn't have lost Grievous, but you keep the two of them together. They are strong together. They are apes together strong, you know.
Yeah. It's kind of good writing.
Kind of works when you...
It really...
Yeah.
I mean, so the thing is, George Lucas is making this for 12-year-olds. And it doesn't have the sort of same weight because it's still it's presented as a Flash Gordon story.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it took me this long to understand all these subtleties. And
it is interesting. So I
feel like a dum-dum.
I pick up more on it more I watch, and then I also pick up on things that, you know, an author like Mike Chen has watched these films and he's had his things and he's put those influences into the book that he's written. So I finished that last night. And so I'm taking my sort of thoughts about their relationship in that book, which is set just after Attack of the Clones, into this. And it is definitely, it elevates it. That's what the books and novels and comics and stuff have always done well. But I think now are doing more than ever, these ones. Because when I first heard about this book, I was like, meh, seems pretty redundant. I know about these.
Yeah, why go back?
Why go back? Why do another story in this timeline? Like, we don't need it. But when it stands on its own as a really good story, but then when it enhances a movie like this one, it makes me go, oh yeah, no, that's really worth checking out, I think.
Do you think this would be good as a sort of skeleton outline for like a 3-part Clone Wars arc?
Yeah.
Or even like a Clone Wars film?
A 3-part arc would be really, really good, actually, thinking about the pacing of it and everything, because I've been watching some old Clone Wars episodes and you've got them, a lot of them are in those sort of 3 acts where like one might follow one character, one might follow the other character, and one is them coming together, which is very much how this plays.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Speaking of like Anakin and Obi-Wan together, have you guys ever seen like the stuff about there being a longer cut of the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight on Mustafar?
I remember hearing about it. I don't think I've ever seen anything sort of,
because you can see like remnants of it, like in the scene where like Anakin's like, actually I forget, is it Anakin on the table or is Obi-Wan on the? Yeah, Obi-Wan's on the table.
Obi-Wan's on the table.
You can see that that they're holding each other's lightsabers.
Yeah.
And that you would think that's like a continuity mistake, but I guess in the longer version of that fight, they end up fighting each other with each other's lightsabers at one point after they have like a longer, prolonged, more or less like fist fight with one another. Like
I think they both knock each other's lightsabers out, because that's that entire first section is they know each other so well. They know each other's moves that they just parry. That no matter what either of them does, they just can't get an upper hand.
Yeah, because I guess originally it was like just all of that fight like all together, and it wasn't cut between like Yoda and Palpatine fighting. It was just the Anakin Obi-Wan fight longer.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be able to see that version.
It would be cool, like, to have it chopped in that way, so you get all of one fight and all of the other fight. I think with the Palpatine stuff, like there's probably a few more like edits. Whereas, yeah, as you said, like with the Obi-Wan Anakin version of it, I feel like they've got everything, like from each corridor to next room to out onto the platforms and all of that stuff. Yeah. It's a great fight.
I wish there was more talking during the fight. I feel like in Star Wars, when they're fighting, they're also having a conversation about.
Oh, they're verbally sparring as well as with their swords. Yeah.
And I would like to see some of this stuff come out. Like, the Jedi have never believed in me. They wouldn't let me on the council. They didn't even want me to be a Jedi Knight to begin, or a Jedi to begin with.
Yeah.
They won't grant me master. Like I want to hear why he's doing. I need Anakin to know, or Obi-Wan to know more of why Anakin's doing it, because there's just a little bit at the beginning where he just says, from my point of view, the Jedi are bad.
Yeah.
Get into it more. And I think that's the only thing, is it took me this long to actually decide to pay attention to these movies. To find out
he's been
of the
neglected,
stuff about
like
Mace Windu and all. Yeah. So a little more verbal communication during it. I mean, it still is for kids, so maybe knock us over the head with some of this information. But I feel like this fight is definitely George Lucas dipping his toes into being cool.
Yeah, it's a showcase of like, I mean, and we covered it when we were talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff. Right. That it is very much a let's throw everything that we can at this because it's probably our last at bat.
Surf on lava and all this stuff.
Yeah,
it's a little cartoony, which is funny because like in Rebels, if you watch the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, I feel like it has so much more
whole conversation. Yeah, it's great. And like when you see someone like was it Freddie Prinze Jr. breaking down that fight and why it's so good, it's amazing. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah. And then if you want the Flash,
like 20 seconds at tops.
At tops, yeah. And then if you like the flip side of that is the Ahsoka Maul fight where it's all Flash, but there is also the weight to it as well because they've had a lot of conversation beforehand. And again, both two people on opposite sides who have been cast out, like one from the sort of the dark side, one from the light in their different ways. And it's the path that they take when they choose to leave or are sort of kicked out of it. Star Wars is good. Star Wars is quite clever when it wants to be.
Yeah, and I've been finding myself watching the prequels more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think it's because every time I watch it, I figure out something new. And that's rewarding.
It's great. It is nice when you can do that.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's not like, I don't know. I've brought this up before, I don't know, on my personal Twitter and stuff, but I haven't rewatched any of the Disney Plus series.
Me neither.
I kind of rewatched The Mandalorian for our episodes covering that, but I didn't make it through it because I find that everything is on the surface. There's nothing to look into. And even the original trilogy was kind of everything was on the surface, but I found it more fun and exciting.
Yeah.
And I like the characters, but these prequels, like especially watching Revenge of the Sith
I think a lot of that is due to the fact that we were not all of us. I enjoyed them as they were coming out, but they felt almost lesser than at the time. So now I'm going back in sort of completely blank, not thinking of them as lesser movies or anything like that. And I'm able to pick out all of this stuff that before
it feels like probably a continuing story.
It really does. Yeah. It's great.
And
Mark,
I mean, I was gonna say I'm not a sequel basher at all. I love the sequel trilogy.
Yep.
But I mean, for better or for worse, like these prequel movies are more cohesive. It's a more cohesive trilogy. It's probably the most cohesive trilogy.
Yeah. One vision, isn't it? It's all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you look at the original trilogy and like Luke and Leia.
Know. Yeah.
That was a thing that evolved. And George Lucas even said stories evolved back in from Star Wars: The Jedi, the making of Saga. So this is like
the only
my legal pad.
The only difference that I will take that I think that was sort of altered. We knew that there was going to be the Clone Wars, but I think the direction that the Clone Wars took was adjusted and representative of the time. So it was the early 2000s. It was post 9/11, and I feel like that definitely had an influence on him and George's politics and the Bush administration. All of that, I think, definitely there is an element of that in there, but it's weird that it's complementary to what was already going to be there anyway. We were going to get the Clone Wars. We were going to get the corruption of politics. It just so happened that there was a parallel in the real world at the same sort of time that he was drawing from, I think. Which, I mean, everyone was. You couldn't not. It was and is the times that we live in. Mark, you're talking about deleted scenes in the fight that you'd like to see put back in. Yeah. For me, especially watching it this time around, I was like, I feel really bad for Natalie Portman in this film because she doesn't have a single scene that isn't related to Anakin and their personal relationship.
The stuff with building. Like the birth of like the rebel.
Exactly. It's not necessarily the Rebel Alliance in the film, but there is all those deleted scenes, the stuff with Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and then the other guy who I remember leading up to this, a lot of people thought he was going to be the old new character, Cranberry. It's just another sensor. Yes, there's 2 or 3 scenes are them separating like we want to be separatists, we want to join, but it's sort of going no, like, hey, we know that we were the ones who put you in power, but you got to give some of that power back, buddy, in their own way, as opposed to Mace Windu, who's just half cocked, goes in, oh, I've just found out that this guy's a Sith Lord, I'm going to go with my 3 mates who were on this ship already without any sort of a plan. Like, if you're Kit Fisto, Mace Windu gets on that ship and he's like, oh yeah, Palpatine's Sith Lord, we're going to go and take him down now. And he's like, wait, hang on. Just us? Or do you want to maybe get that rest of the Jedi Temple to back us up? Do you want to get...
And or Anakin.
Or Anakin, you know, the one who brought them this information, the most powerful. Yeah, again, it's the disrespect between Mace Windu and Anakin. It led to his own downfall.
Yeah.
The arrogance of the Jedi. It was what led to their fall.
Right.
But yeah, I'd have loved to have seen more stuff with Padme and Bail Organa and all of that stuff. I think it would have given her more agency in the movie, as opposed to just kind of being a bit nothing and just being standing weeping
in the apartment, watching.
Yeah. Which again, it has its place. It should still be there as well, because their relationship is key to the decisions that he makes, but it shouldn't be the only thing in her life. She's always been, up to this point, portrayed as a very strong, independent character who stands up for what she's got. And like her line about "this is how liberty dies with thunderous applause" is fantastic, but it carries so much more weight if you've seen everything they've been trying to do behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah.
It's a shame. It is a shame. So I mentioned that I've been listening to an audiobook as well, like when I've just been sort of around the house, while I was also reading Brotherhood. I went back, I read it at the time when it first came out, but I've been going back, and after our discussion about The Phantom Menace, I was like, man, I remember the Darth Plagueis book being a really good complement to the entire prequel trilogy. And it adds so much depth to Palpatine, not just like the opera scene where he talks about Plagueis, but it adds depth to the entire Sith plot of the prequel trilogy, the Revenge of the Sith, as it was. And yeah, it's really good, and again, it helps enhance this movie for me.
This is the best title, by the way, of the 3. But I love The Phantom Menace. I love Attack of the Clones. They sound straight out of Flash Gordon. But Revenge of the Sith was perfect for the fans who had been around since the early days. Revenge of the Jedi, and he's like, Jedi don't get revenge. And so for him to call it Revenge of the Sith and making the font red, and it just was like 1983 all over again. It was a really good one. Let me talk about the third time I saw Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, that's what that.
So I had seen all the other movies like countless times, no matter what I thought of Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. Well, I actually never had a problem with Attack of the Clones. Saw them like 8 times. And usually one of those times I just take my mom, because we used to watch the old Star Wars. She liked the old Star Wars. I don't know if the new ones were her thing, but I'm like, okay, whatever. So we go to Brea, California. I remember the theater. And we went to the Edwards, and I'm like, okay, we're going to watch. This is the last one. This is the one where the one before Star Wars with Anakin and Obi-Wan and stuff. She's okay. So we go and we watch it, and I'm sitting there watching. I know everything that's going to happen. I've watched it before. I've had no issues with it. It was that Star Wars movie. Okay, we'll go watch it again. Here comes this thing that I like. Here comes this thing that I don't. Whatever. And Anakin cuts off Mace Windu's hand and throws him out the window. And as soon as Palpatine said, "Lord Vader, rise," my mom goes, "Oh, shit." I can hear her next to me just go, "Oh, shit." And then I'm like, ooh, mom's invested. This is great. And then he starts doing his march on the Jedi Temple. And she breaks out all the Kleenex and just
weeps,
gushes. It is insane because she's not super invested in Star Wars, but she knows who Darth Vader is. And she knows who this kid is, and she knows he becomes Darth Vader. Okay. But to see it play out in front of her really hit her hard, which then made me get hit really hard. And me and my mom, during the entire Order 66, weeping with Kleenex in our hands. Because for me, at the time in my early 20s, I'm watching a stupid CG movie that George Lucas put out. Another one of these things where he's like,
you're at the height of cynicism.
His dense filling everything in the frame. It's so dense. You got to see what George has done. He's
literally put the kitchen sink in that. Like, yeah.
It never occurred to me that, like, I'm invested in these things.
Yeah,
and I've been invested in these things since I was 3 months old when Star Wars came out. And it was my mom that reminded me, it's not about the stupid filmmaking. It's not about green screens. It's not about Jar Jar. It's not about any of this shit. It's about the characters. And I fucking lost it, dude. I was crying the entire rest of the movie.
I mean,
the entire time. And right now I'm still getting.
That's amazing because of the emotion, because of that, because it was your mom going, "Oh shit," because she knows what's coming. Like
it wasn't like I just took my mom to the movies.
No,
all my friends went again. Stevie was there, sitting next to me on the other side. Yeah. It was like I'm like, here I am in front of all my friends watching a stupid Star Wars movie. They went with me all 8 times to see Clones and Phantom Menace, and the previous 2 times seeing Revenge of the Sith. And now they're watching me just bawl my fucking eyes out on my 3rd viewing of Revenge of the Sith.
That's amazing. That's so good.
So, it's like one of those things where it's like, once you get past the whole George Lucasness of it all and just focus on the story, it becomes pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It really is. I think it's you ask like non-hardcore Star Wars fans what their favorite prequel is. I think most people probably do say this one. Because at the time it didn't get like as much vitriol as the other 2 did. But still they'd be like, "Oh, I don't like any of them, but if I had to choose, it'd be that one." But I think like everyone else, like I say everyone else, like Star Wars fans, as it were, have come around en masse to the prequels. And this one just sort of seems to have stayed there. But it really, I think it's a really good movie. Like without ever having to sort of go, "Oh, but because," or we can look past this. I've never had to do that with this film.
And the thing is, a lot of the stuff that makes this movie good is stuff that was set up in the previous 2 movies.
Yeah. It's not as good without those. Yeah.
Palpatine's plan totally makes sense when you sort of reverse engineer it. Like I said, watch these movies in reverse order and you can see what George Lucas was doing. And it was good. And a lot of people say, "Oh, can you imagine if the prequels were directed by someone else?" But I feel like they could have probably been better films, but I think they would have missed out on some of the more subtle stuff that George was doing.
Yeah, some of the filmmaking might have been different or better, but like, I don't think if I hesitate to even say better because it would have just been different. And who knows? Like, I don't know. I don't want to play in those hypothetical ways because I like what we've got.
Yeah, it took me a while to come around, but I do like what we have.
We're gonna have to wrap up soon because I'm gonna have to go. But
we could just boot you.
I mean, you could just boot me if you guys want to keep going. Please do.
We did that with Ed.
Yeah, I heard. CGI Tarkin over this Tarkin every day of the week, please. I'll take Rogue One Tarkin over this guy because I really don't like it. I kind of just wish it was from the back. We don't need to see a face. We can headcanon it being an Imperial officer. We can headcanon it being Tarkin, but just put an Imperial officer on that bridge.
Let's get George back in the editing room.
Yeah, put him. Yeah. Like
it's like, hey, we can do this to Tarkin. He would jump at the chance.
I'd be up for some special edition changes for like odd things.
A de-aged CG Tarkin.
Wow. It would be pretty cool. CG stuff though, the background clones on Utapau are amazing. All of like the stuff that they're doing is just fun. Like a lot of them, like I saw one guy like runs up a super battle droid, shoots it in the head, and then like jumps off and carries on. It's like it's super cool, and it's
in the background though. I love that the cool stuff is in the background.
Exactly. You don't need. It's not the focus. You don't need to cut to it, but it's there if you're watching it for the 8th time, and you're going right. Okay, I know what Obi-Wan's doing on the back of his lizard. Like I'm just going to watch these clones down here. It's super cool.
That's one of my favorite things. If I were to get any sort of like maquette from Star Wars, the prequels, it would be Obi-Wan riding the
Boga. Is it Boga? Boga?
I don't remember.
I think it's Boga.
Dragon.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so cool.
And also, while we're on Utapau, Bruce Spence, who plays like the administrator that you might go to, that guy closes out the 3 biggest trilogies from the early 2000s. He's in the last film of each 3. He's this guy in Revenge of the Sith. He's the train man in The Matrix Revolutions, and he was the mouth of Sauron in The Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
And it's like,
that's right.
What a weird couple of years for that guy to like be in the 3 biggest films.
I never realized he talks like Dracula.
Does he really? Oh, what, in this or just in general?
Yeah, in this.
Okay, well,
he talks like Dracula.
I mean, it's interesting because like he's by all accounts a good guy, but he's so menacing looking. That's what the powers are.
Like,
really
I feel like this movie, if anything, like George Lucas introduced Universal monsters with Vader on the Frankenstein table.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I don't know if you guys are going to keep going, but I'm going to have to.
Yeah, we're going to keep going.
You're going to keep going. Awesome. I'm glad.
Okay, just before you go, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop this up.
Yes, I wrote a written review for Star Wars Brotherhood that you can find at tinyletter.com/James Hewlett. I will have a video review up hopefully this week. I will probably be doing that tomorrow. I'll put the links to it on socials when I know what time I'm doing it. It'll be cool if you can join me live. If not, it'll be on the YouTube panel.
I want to know if you were doing it live.
Yeah, I'll probably 3:30 UK time, so 7:30 AM West Coast. Probably around then. But keep an eye on Twitter and Instagram for
and YouTube too, because that'll tell you exactly when it's.
Yeah, just hit that bell on there, and yeah, you'll get notified. Hate being that guy.
All right. Well, have a good day at work.
Thank you very much, guys. Mark, thanks for joining us, and I will see you guys next week for Data Link.
Oh, Data Link, yeah. I'll talk about that at the end of the show. I'm excited for that one. It's a big one.
I'll see you next week.
All right. Do you want me to live? Okay, here you go. Oh, there he goes. I thought he was just going to knock himself out.
All right.
Have you ever cried during a Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. I think, the Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One.
Rogue One still gets me every time. And it's when Radis says, Rogue One, may the Force be with you. And then he kind of gives a sigh, like the mission's over, and these guys, and he leans back in his chair and he just closes his eyes. Like that moment. And I chalk that up to Michael's music. So it really helps.
I think some of the stuff that made me cry when I saw Revenge of the Sith back in 2005 too was just because like how emotionally invested that I had gotten into that movie. because I was like so invested in that movie. I think I sent you a picture of this, but like back in 2005, I still had hair, and I actually permed my hair so that it would look like Hayden Christensen's hair from Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
And I had grown it out and like did it so that I would have basically the Anakin haircut. And my wife Kelly and I, we had gone to like an amusement park when he had this character done. So it's like me as Anakin and her as Padme, and it's Padme in the Mustafar kind of costume. So I always tell our son Patrick that he's in that character too, because it's pregnant Padme with
is Luke or Leia.
Yeah.
You sent me that picture?
Yeah, I sent it to the live action Star Wars Twitter DM.
Okay.
I figured
just vamp for a little bit. I'm putting this up.
Yeah, no worries. But so it's me with my super long, glorious locks of Anakin hair. I remember getting made fun of by some people in college because I had gotten a perm. But I was like, I don't know. I liked Star Wars so much that I did that to my hair, and that I loved the character of Anakin so much that that was another reason why I cried when I watched it too, just because I liked that character so much. So like when he's just standing there like on Mustafar and he's kind of, yeah, there you go. Yep. The thing that I always think is funny too about this character is that the character artist left my wife's sunglasses like on
her head.
Yeah, so I think it's funny that like she's wearing sunglasses on Mustafar.
I mean, but there's still a volcano back there.
Yeah, and she's coming out of the ship.
Yeah.
So this is like hanging above our bed in our bedroom.
The sunglasses are a nice touch. Sunglasses are canon in Star Wars now.
That's also no beard mark too. So it's a rare.
That's rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I almost got a job where I had to shave mine, and I was like, I don't know about that.
Oh man. Yeah, we watched the movie again last night, and it's fun watching these movies with Patrick, just because it's been fun in showing him these movies as he's been getting older too. And this movie's actually pretty much as old as he is, because it came out in May of the year that he was born. So I also told him that he went to his first Star Wars convention before he was ever even born, because he was there in the womb when we went to Star Wars Celebration 3 back in 2005.
But he had seen these before, right?
Oh yeah, he's been watching them as he's been growing up. His favorite movie right now is Rogue One. Still, out of like all of the movies, that's his favorite one.
I mean, it's an awesome movie. Every time I watch it, I like it more and more. I mean, I guess that goes with all Star Wars. Like Solo, as much as I love Solo, I rewatched it recently and I just love it a little bit more. Do you have any stuff on Revenge of the Sith specifically that you noticed this time around?
Not this time. Here, vamp for a second. I'll be right back. I apologize.
All right, that's fine. Yep. Okay, so James mentioned that he's doing the book review coming this week. I'm going to have that information out for you on YouTube soon. But also, he has a board game that he recently got. He's going to review that as well. So that's going to go up on YouTube. So right now, I think we still have something like 3 live streams coming up. Our data link, which is next week, is our 1-year anniversary, and it's going to be covering Orthodox Star Wars Day. So May 25th, the anniversary of the release of the original Star Wars film. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're doing episode 1 on Friday live at our normal time before Celebration. And then episode 2 on Saturday at 7:30 in the morning before Celebration. So we got 3 episodes coming next week. Check those out. And if you want reminders, go to YouTube, click on those videos that we have upcoming live stream, and join us in the chat. So what you got?
Yeah, sorry. There's someone here that had to fix our fence outside.
Okay.
But yeah, I think like this was like the first one that I like when the prequels came out. I got invested in them incrementally each time they came out. So I remember like when Revenge of the Sith came out. Oh, this is Silly. I remember I made Kelly go with me to like the action figure launch that they did for the action figures for that. So I remember I should probably sell them or do something with them, because I just have like a plastic bin full of like all of these Revenge of the Sith action figures that I bought back in 2005 that are still in the package that
I've
done anything with.
There might be a resurgence of this stuff. Who knows? I know that, you know, you probably can't get $1 billion, but if you sell them as a lot, I'm sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, what I would do is just check them individually just to see like if you have anything that's crazy hard to find. If not, just sell it as a lot. I'm sure there's people out there that still want that stuff.
Yeah, I might just do that. Yeah, because I had all the Burger King toys that they did too. Like I made sure that I got all. I don't remember. I went all in.
Yeah, I could use like I one of the things that I don't like collect a lot because I don't really have the space and I don't like the clutter. So I got rid of like all of my episode 1 and 2 action figures, and I just had a big bag of Star Wars figures that I gave to a friend. Pretty cool stuff, but I kept all of my pilots and I kept Ki-Adi-Mundi. He's my favorite Jedi. And I'm glad in Revenge of the Sith he got sort of a better send-off than some others. My wife's a big fan of Shakti, and she got sort of just unceremoniously killed, and then that scene got deleted. So
that was like one of the 4 different ways that she's died.
Yeah. And I still think that none of them are canon.
Yeah, so technically she
could be still out there. It would be funny if they did like if she showed up in Obi-Wan and they talk about how she escaped death like 4 times.
Yeah.
And then she gets killed by an Inquisitor. So
yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts on the movie? Any memories?
Not too many more. Like most of them are related to like going to Celebration 3 that year, like James did. I probably walked by him at one point, I would assume and didn't even know. But
I have a really bad picture of me and my friend Lenny at Comic-Con 2006 or 2005. And in the background is my friend Steve, who I hadn't met until like 15 years later.
Oh, wow.
That's so crazy. Chances are you ran into him.
Probably.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But yeah, like that was the other thing too, is that like going to that convention for Celebration 3 that year, like I'd only been.
Where was that at?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
So that was another reason like why I knew it was eventually going to end up with Kelly, who's now my wife, because we'd only been together like for maybe like half a year at that point, but she was willing to drive across many states and go to a Star Wars convention for at that point she hadn't watched any of the Star Wars movies, so she was willing to go to a Star Wars convention with me states over, just because it was something that I loved and she wanted to support that.
So remember, our last regular episode, I talked about being in line for, I think, 12 hours for the Phantom Menace. Right. I was in line. That's where I met Stevie. I was in line for the Phantom Menace. So it's funny, like I see people like shitting on Star Wars on a daily basis. Yesterday, they released that Vanity Fair article, and people were mad at Kathleen Kennedy for saying that they, talking about replicating or recasting younger versions that you can't replicate that. You can't.
Yeah.
I forget the wording, but the wording made it seem like people were mad because they liked Alden Ehrenreich, and she said that it didn't work. They figured out that it didn't work on Solo to try to recreate the actors with younger actors. But if you listen to what she's saying and you see what Alden Ehrenreich did, he didn't do a Harrison Ford impression. So they learned he didn't do a Harrison Ford impression. So he went and he did just, the essence of it. Much like Ewan McGregor is not doing a Alec Guinness impression. So the thing is like people just jump on this shit and like decide how they're going to spin it to make it sound, when she's really saying you can't replicate Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So don't try to. Just let Alden Ehrenreich do his thing and be Han Solo. Don't have him try to recreate Harrison Ford. So she was talking about the actors, I think, instead of the characters. Like, don't try that.
Yeah, that's the only thing about written word sometimes, I guess, is that like the tone or like the cadence of like how someone's actually saying something can't be properly expressed like the same way as if like maybe you'd heard her say that.
Yeah. So the thing that kind of bugs me is people jumping on and being negative about Star Wars when it should be all positive. If there's something you don't like in Star Wars, you don't have to be shitty about it because someone else likes it. You might hurt their feelings. Yeah. There's no reason to like argue because Star Wars is awesome. It made me and my mom cry. It brought us together during a moment. It sort of brought you and your wife together, and it brought me and my wife together. So next week we are discussing Orthodox Star Wars Day. And the reason why we're doing that is I'm writing an article for Effin' Cool News. And they asked me if I wanted to do a article about Star Wars. I said, what about? They said, anything. I said, can I talk about Orthodox Star Wars Day? Which is sort of a newish thing. Someone has put a name on it. Now that there's May the 4th has turned into Star Wars Day. Orthodox Star Wars Day has become a thing where fans of the May 25th Star Wars release being the birthday of Star Wars and Star Wars Day have it's been sort of a small groundswell. And so I'm writing an article about that and negativity in Star Wars and how much I hate May the 4th being such a cash grab for a lot of companies. Like we all saw the ads. We all saw every product, Star Wars water bottle, Star Wars rugs, Star Wars everything being thrown in our face. And even though I don't like that, it doesn't mean I have to be an asshole on the internet. There's still plenty of other Star Wars to like. And I feel like Orthodox Star Wars Day I'm kind of want to be like a celebration. I don't want cynicism. And so we're going to be talking about Orthodox Star Wars Day on our Data Link episode next week. It's going to be fun, I promise. And it's not going to be filled with anger. It's about Star Wars and celebrating it and the positivity surrounding it. So like us talking about our personal, lives and how Star Wars fits in is like a perfect lead into next week's episode. Nice. So I look forward to that. Mark, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me
on again. This is sort of it. This is sort of the a couple months ago since the Book of Boba Fett. Since the Book of Boba Fett, there hasn't. I mean, we've only had a couple weeks to sort of do our Obi-Wan preamble. And we started with like some prequel documentaries with Ewan McGregor, and then episode 1 and now episode 3. We're done. We are now getting to Obi-Wan mode. Join us live after each episode. We're doing the same format as Book of Boba Fett, where we are watching. I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning, watching the episode. We record at 7:30 every morning live. So if you're one of those folks that stays up when it drops at midnight or whenever, join us in the live chat because these live episodes following the show is like our fresh takes, and we don't catch everything on our first shot at this. So we definitely want you guys in the chat to point things out that we missed. So yeah, I'm excited. This next week is going to be chock full of live action Star Wars. So I'm excited. And James has 2 reviews coming up, and follow us at liveactionstarwars.com. There's all the information you know. And then the most important thing is to hit the bell icon. Down here, there's a bell icon next to the subscribe button. That'll just send you a notification on your phone or an email letting you know when our live episodes drop. So if you want to hear James's review on the book and the board game, which is called Outer Rim, those are coming up. Don't know when, but they are.
Nice.
So Mark, give us some plugs before you take off.
Oh yeah. So I do a Star Wars podcast to myself called the Holdo Maneuver. We're going to be recording an episode tonight, all about like our predictions for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Have a new host on there, Michael Soren. He was in the chat. I don't know if he's still in there today, but yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. And then we're usually bi-weekly, but during Obi-Wan, it's going to be weekly with each episode for that. And then I do my animation podcast, Animation Fascination, that you've been on before in the past. Brought that back after a 7-year hiatus. But those, if you follow or find me online, and you go to my link tree, there's links for all of those shows there. And I think Ralph already put my link tree in the summary to this video. So if you find that, you can find all that other stuff. And yeah, Star Wars is awesome. Animation is awesome. And I'm glad to enjoy all this stuff.
And I know you asked me about joining you on one of the episodes for Obi-Wan, and that should happen. I'm looking at my schedule. Once I get past this week, I'll know. I'll know. And then, because I want to join. I want to join you for that because I'll talk about more Obi-Wan. I have high hopes for the show, but I'm keeping my expectations low, just so that I don't get disappointed by you think like, oh my gosh, we're gonna see Vader and it's gonna be awesome, and Vader. But what if he's only like in episode 5 for like 20 seconds? Like, I'm trying to relax, not get my expectations too high, and good things are going to come. So join us next week, and let's see here. I got to find the thing. So, all right. It's weird because James isn't here. He usually does the setup for the outro. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody that showed up in the live chat. You're awesome. See you guys next week. And until then, don't give in to hate. Celebrate the love. Punch it.